y'all. This is She Buys It with Whitney Nicely. Yay! Hello. Welcome back to the She Buys It podcast. I have an awesome wholesaler here with me today. Y'all are going to love this. I have been friends with this lady on Facebook for years. We never actually met or chatted until today. So I just know that the goodies that are going to come from this conversation is going to change both of our lives, but change your life too. So stay tuned because Kristina Spells is here and she's going to be sharing all sorts of juicy goodies that you can use in your real estate investing portfolio now, next year, and the next year too. So Kristina is in St. Louis and she is absolutely phenomenal. Kristina, please say hello and give us any other intro that people need to know about you.
All right, awesome. So I'm Kristina Spells. I'm originally from Miami, but I have my entire rental portfolio and my wholesaling operation and my nonprofit here in St. Louis. So this is my main operating market. And then probably before the end of the year, we're definitely going to be expanding into a second market that's on the East Coast.
Well, that sounds like some juicy gossip, but we won't spill the tea. So I'm completely obsessed with talking about your first deal and how you got started and how you even made the jump to say, I need to be in real estate. And what was it like, as a wholesaler doing some buy and holds and like, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. Just jump in there.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually started, so I am the product of a guru program. So I went to college. I have a bachelor's degree, and then I also have an MBA with the concentration in entrepreneurship. So I had all that stuff by the time I was 20. And then at that point I was still like, what am I supposed to do with my life?
They didn't teach me anything.
So I was already, yeah, exactly. So I was already in management. My background, ever since I was 16, I was in the insurance field. So I was managing a district. I was making six figures, but I was extremely unfulfilled, working a lot of hours. And so I knew that there was more to life than that for sure. So I took a huge leap. I bought the biggest program that they had at Rich Dad and hired a mentor and did all the stuff for $90,000, which I don't recommend making that big of a commitment.
Holy crap, 90 grand.
Yeah, but some people, and we'll talk about it, like I do believe that people need skin in the game. For some people it's healthy motivation. I just don't think it needs to be that big. And whatever your risk tolerance is, like maybe for you it's only $500 and that'll put your skin in the game, but for someone else it might be 10,000,
I say I'm the product of the guru too. I put in $15,000 and on my first deal I made $15,000. So I fully believe that when you put skin in the game, you will work harder, and a lot of times you'll get your investment back in the first or second deal. Then you just keep going and now it's gravy.
For sure. Definitely. So I definitely agree in investing in conferences and education and getting to events and things. So I'm not by any means. I just don't think that 90,000 is like the way to go. But anyways, it worked out. So that's great. So I started wholesaling because at that point I had used every inch of credit that I ever had, obviously. So I couldn't even buy a rental property at that point. Because all the credit, I actually put it on credit cards. So I was only I was 23 at the time. So because I had six figures, I actually had like a lot of access to capital. And so my husband and I, we split it. He took 50,000 of the debt and I took 40, or however it worked out. And so we put it across different credit cards. But so I started wholesaling because that was the only option that I had. And I'm glad that that was my only option because I can make a lot of mistakes on other people's dime, not necessarily mine. And so, so I started wholesaling my first deal. So in guru school, they tell you to at this time they were telling us to go after pre-foreclosures, right? So worst idea ever. I don't know who came up with this in a training manual, but so it was pre-foreclosures when you don't have any money, which is a terrible thing. But anyway, so I did what they told me to do. And I started door knocking and I just did whatever it took. I was writing letters. I was just doing everything that you can find easily on YouTube. And so I door knocked on these people. They lived in a nice neighborhood. And so the guy was actually I'm getting money out of a 401k so I could pay their arrears. But I would be interested in selling. We have a rental property that's actually paid for. So I'd be interested in selling that to kind of relieve it.
Hang on, I want to stop right there, because when you're talking to this seller and you're talking to him about one deal, he flipped it over to another deal that he had free and clear. So I want people to realize that we're not just talking to broke, busted, and disgusted people out here. These are real people, and just something happened in their life.
Yeah.
They had a little a hiccup, and now they're stumbling along, and somebody's trying to come through and save them, and that's our job. And that's what we know, and that's what we do. So I love this turn of events.
Yeah. So it was actually really cool because, like, yeah, I mean, and obviously it's my first one, so I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm like the kind of person, like, I had enough information to be dangerous, right? And so I was like, yo, like, I'm gonna get my partners in on this. We're gonna look at the deal and see what I can do for you. And so the property is actually in like one of the most dangerous parts of St. Louis in the county. Yeah. So it was like war zone, but it actually worked out great. Like, I don't even remember how much I made, but I made like $3,000 or $4,000 on this deal. Selling a house. Like, it was so easy.
That's perfect. And, people will say, well, if you're not going to make X amount, it's not worth doing. And I disagree with that, because you get that first deal done fast, and then you make 3,000, you make 4,000, you do another deal, you make another 3, you make a 30, you do another deal. But, you're learning all the time. You're growing all the time. And when you go to college, you're just paying out, and they're not really teaching anything. This way, you're learning life lessons on how to maneuver these deals. There's thousands of ways to make money in real estate. And I
thousands.
Making money and helping people, if you can do them both at the same time, do it. Until you figure out how to make more, and then do that.
Right, of course. And I mean, that's the thing, is like, there's so many options when it comes to real estate. So like right now I'm doing a deal where, to be honest, I'm not going to make anything. It's zero. And this is the first time I've ever not made any money on a deal. But honestly, like, for me, it's like the seller's really in need. I'm actually going to wholesale it. And I'm not going to keep it as a portfolio, but I'm like, I make enough money. Like, I don't have to eat off of every single thing. I'm not telling you not, this is the first time in like over 400 transactions that I've never made any money. But because I'm in a position where I don't necessarily have to make it, it's kind of nice.
Well, I also think
I feel like I'm doing charity.
It's exactly. Oh my gosh, yes. It's charity. You can either give 10%, or you can do 10% of your deals for free. Lawyers do pro bono work. People go serve food in kitchens. Like, there's lots of ways to give back. It doesn't have to be in a check. You could just help people, and helping people is never the wrong thing to do.
Yep, exactly. And like,
right.
No, you said it right.
The right thing to do is the better way to say it. It's always the right thing to do to help people, because then, when God gives you a gift and you turn it into a gift for somebody else, he's going to bless you 10 times over with 10 other people where those deals are easier just because of this.
Yep. And a lot of times, like, where like something was really, really complicated, or, because I was doing short pre-foreclosures, I did a lot of short sales. And so some of the situations were, they weren't short sale opportunities. Maybe I felt that person really could qualify for a loan mod. And I'm like, I'm not in a position, I don't make money off a loan mod, and that's okay. But then that person would refer people to me because they're like, she helped me. I don't know how she helped me, but she helped me. And so my biggest thing, like, just across the board, is just being a resource to people. It doesn't really matter in what form, like, where it is. It's just keep on showing up for people.
And I think there's thousands of ways to make money in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
What's beautiful about the way you've done this is you learned one path, and then you learned another path, and now you have a portfolio, and now you're doing some other things, and now you've got partners on a different coast. And so I tell women, I don't like the tool belt example, because I don't know how to use a hammer.
Me either, but it sounds good.
Yeah. But I tell them it's like being in the kitchen, and you can use a spoon for just about everything. But sometimes you want to use a spatula, and sometimes you need a whisk, and sometimes, like, you just need different
things,
utensils,
tools.
To get to
tools and utensils.
Yes.
Yep, for sure. I agree with you. And I think that a lot of times, like, that's what I love about wholesaling, like starting in wholesaling. And I always tell people, like, if you can start wholesaling, especially now, because like cash flow, passive income is like such a sexy term, and I feel like it's so
Right.
so overutilized. But if you don't have money in your bank account, you shouldn't be owning rental property yet. You should wholesale. Like, learn what a really good deal is. You can learn how to analyze cash flow properly. You can know what kind of issues tenants have, where to even source tenants, what good property managers, because you've seen it happen over and over again. So just let someone else pay for your experience. You know what I mean? Instead of having, like, so many people are like, I want to buy a rental property. I'm like, how much money do you have? How much do you have in reserves? How much do you have in anything? Like, it sounds, even with subject to or seller financing, it sounds so sexy, but when the furnace goes out, do you have money to pay for that? What if the furnace and the water heater and the AC unit all go out within 2 weeks of each other? It's impossible. Like,
or you have 5 properties and the furnace goes out on one and the water heater goes out on another and this goes out on the other, and then what do you
and then
do?
you got 2 vacancies and then you got an eviction.
Now what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, so that's the thing about not being in a desperate place. And I feel like that wholesaling is a real estate vehicle that gets you out of desperate situations. Like, I will never stop wholesaling. Like, it's an ATM for me. Like, it's the easiest thing ever. Like, but I mean, there is work that goes into it, so I'm not gonna say that, but it's okay. Maybe easy is not the word, simple is the word.
It's a strategy
It's
and it's
simple.
a mindset. And when you figure out how to make that work, then do it to it, baby. I'll also say,
Right.
though, my first year I did assignments. So I really wanted to be in creative financing. I really wanted to do owner financing and lease options. And so I did 14 deals. I made like $136,000, but I didn't keep anything my first year. And a lot of people don't realize that. Looking back, yeah, I wish I'd kept some of them, but not all of them.
No, but
And
even then,
I made good money, and then I could see it through on the other side. Some of those houses boomeranged and came back to me, and then I got to make money on them again.
right.
But I wasn't ready to manage them monthly and juggle them monthly and
Right.
do all that. I just want to make some money, get my investment back, and figure some things out before I stayed. So I
Yep.
love that. Tell
Yeah.
me how you started wholesaling. How'd you go from pre-foreclosures to wholesaling?
So actually, I was wholesaling the entire time. So pre-foreclosures was like how, prior, not like pre-foreclosures that they did have auction dates. So they had a date in mind. So I was wholesaling the whole time. I was just using different strategies. I was driving for dollars and looking it up on the county assessor's website and, writing it down in a notebook before there was cool apps, like Deal Machine.
What year was it that you got started?
5 years ago. It'll be 5 years this year. Yeah.
14 or 15?
14.
I started in 14 also, and I
Yeah.
feel like such an old person in this because I'm like, yeah, you write it down, and they're like, but there's apps, and I'm like, I don't know how to use those. Like,
Yeah.
But one thing
It's
that
crazy.
never goes out of style is being able to talk to sellers.
Yep, for sure. I mean, that's where you make your money.
Whatever app you use, exactly. That's how you make your money, is talking to people.
Yeah.
So you're writing down addresses and you're finding people with cash that want to take over these deals. Do you have any criteria when you're looking for a good wholesale? What are you looking for? Who are you trying to help?
So now it's a little different. But when I first started, honestly, I was just doing anything and everything. So I was doing the pre-foreclosure list, but I was really tackling like vacant houses. Because, and this kind of segues into everything, is that I thought that a house had to be vacant for me to wholesale it. And that is not true. So I'm super passionate.
But it is way easier if it's empty. That's one of my criteria. I have 3 rules, and it has to be vacant.
What? No.
Yeah.
So now, honestly, I buy occupied houses, with tenants in them. I mean, and that's a great criteria. It does make it way easier if it's vacant, but I'm going to be honest. A lot of my end buyers or my partners that I bring in on deals and stuff, we actually want them to cash flow. So, as long as we check, rent rolls and leases and do a deferred maintenance sheet, it's usually a lot easier and I don't have to worry about a lot of things, but now, every once in a while.
When I have a different set of criteria, when I'm looking at apartments or multifamilies, yes, absolutely. I want all those things. I want to check all that out and do all those things. But for me, for houses, because I don't have partners, I take all those on myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm usually taking it on with owner financing and lease options. I want it empty so I can start showing it immediately. I don't want to work around somebody's dog's schedule.
Yep. No, that makes sense, especially for seller financing or some, for those kind of lease option deals. It's definitely way easier to do that. I just like to cash flow. So if we can take it with tenant, and honestly, it really depends. So there's a lot of properties in the portfolio right now. So it also depends on like what my crews are doing. If I have a lot of vacants, if we have tenant moving out, like I rather buy some tenant occupied stuff so it can kind of like balance out a little.
You said something earlier that I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
You said, in the beginning, you didn't really know what you were doing. So you're just doing what you were told. And now that you got all this experience, it's way more complicated. You can't just go look at a deal anymore and it just fit one box. Now we have to consider all these things like what's your crew doing? Where are we on cash flow? Whose partner's money's tied up? Blah, 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 blah. Like it just gets bigger the
Yep.
longer you stay in it.
Yeah. Yeah, the more money you make too, so that's always good.
For sure. For
But
sure.
yeah, so initially, I mean, and if I were starting again, like today, like let's say I had the knowledge, but I lost everything, no money, everything, I probably would just drive for dollars. So we use a deal machine, which is an app. It's super cheap. And I don't even use it for postcards. I use it to export the data and call on the data. So just call the owners and let them know like, hey, I'm looking to purchase a property. Not even sure if you're interested in selling, but that's it.
The man that created it runs it, David Lecco. I had dinner
Yeah.
with him at a guru seminar just randomly, and he is absolutely fantastic and just a really
He's so
chill
smart.
dude and has a great product. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, they're from, both of them are here from St. Louis, but they live in Indy. But yeah, they're great. They're great young guys, and they really care about people's feedback. So if there's ever a problem, like they're really willing to like fix it.
I think they really understand it from the investor side too. A lot of app developers haven't been in our shoes, and so they're just kind of like trying to make the algorithm work or whatever, and it just doesn't feel
Yeah.
right.
It doesn't feel investor friendly.
Right. So I like to talk about the good, bad, and ugly. We've
Yeah.
covered some good. Let's talk about some bad and some ugly. What are some lessons that you learned? If you could go back and know these lessons, what would you avoid or do different? Or what do the ladies listening to this need to know to look out for?
I think the biggest thing is like it's okay to attend events and get plugged into other women that but stop I guess like over analyzing things. I think a lot of times what happens is that we stay stuck in these spaces because we think we need more information, and the reality is that whatever you read isn't going to make sense until you actually do it. And I can tell you my story, Whitney can tell you her story, like all my friends could tell you anything. And the reality is that until you're ready, it's not going to click. It's not going to make sense. So I just encourage you to get extremely uncomfortable. At the end of the day, like none of it is going to be easy. Like you're going to get butterflies in your stomach and you're going to feel like you can't breathe and all this stuff. Like at the end of the day, you just have to continue to do it because it'll get easier. It's like, I always try to use the analogy, like your first day at work, like that seems so normal to you because you're okay with working, right? But the first day at work, you don't know what your coworkers are going to look like and you get nervous and you don't really know what the job's going to entail. So if you put that into the same place, like invest that kind of energy and time into your own business, into your own knowledge, and plug into podcasts and some, I don't really read books on like real estate investing because I feel like it's not actionable. I like personal development books, but I really like podcasts way better about real estate. Just because it just feels more real. Like I want to know, like you said, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like I just left a property that was tenant occupied by one of my contractors had some workers and they just trashed the whole thing. Like that stuff happens, and so I'm not going to keep that from you, but you have to realize like if you're in a place where you need, you just need to wholesale, be honest with yourself. Like be honest with yourself that you're not in a position to buy a rental property. Be honest with yourself, like analyze your situation and just go for like, I think that a lot of times people think wholesaling is like it's like a beginner strategy. First of all, I would never stop wholesaling. I love wholesaling, like an easy $50,000 without doing anything, an easy 10,000 for, like that just doesn't make sense why I would even stop that. So, and passive income is amazing, but it's not passive. So yeah, I mean that's my advice. I love real estate. I love what the lifestyle and what it's allowed me to do to be able to give back to people, give people safe housing, cleaner options, all that kind of stuff that people don't always have access to.
I'd like to add too, when you're listening to the podcast or you're reading books or you're going to guru camp or, you're coming to even one of my events or whatever, you're absolutely right. Whatever I say is just like one dimensional. But when you are out there and you're in a house that smells like cats, it's totally a different ballgame. And I think, I've done 70 some odd deals the last time I counted, like not as many as you have, but I've done a good bit.
Yeah.
And I learned something new
every time.
Every single time. You're never going to know it all. You're never going to know exactly what's going to happen because we're in a people business.
People are weird.
People do very people-y things sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the nicest way I can say that. And that's coming from somebody who admits to having a crazy girl brain and doing some weird things from time to time. But people just do crazy things. Or even, when people are recording titles, sometimes people make mistakes and then we got a title problem to go through. And it's not exactly the same problem that we fixed the last time. So be ready to learn. If you're not okay with learning and growing on a daily basis, real estate may not be for you.
No. I mean, and you have to adapt to personalities. You have to, the title people, like, and it's, you're right. It's never the same thing. It's never the same paperwork. I mean, yeah, the initial contract works, but after that, it's like balls to the walls because like you never know what kind of quick claim deed you're going to need to file to kill someone off title, what kind of affidavit. Like there's so many title issues that could happen.
But I wouldn't let that stop you either.
No.
Because, you can either pay and go to med school for 14 years and then still have to get out
and still be broke.
And still serve for another 7 years and then still be broke. And it doesn't take that long in real estate. And I think sometimes people have a hard time accepting that I can make $50,000 for doing one deal and having 5 hours invested with
And that could be overwhelming. Like that could be paralyzing. Like a lot of times people have, it's called like money mindset issues probably. Like you don't feel like you think like you just have this conflict within yourself that you're not deserving of that. And I want to encourage you to really fix that because you're only going to attract like what you believe that you really deserve. And just because you've been poor your whole life or you haven't had opportunities or no one has ever shared how to make real money with you doesn't mean that you are not capable of making real money.
But you have to change. Some of the things that you're doing aren't going to produce a $50,000 deal.
Right.
But you have to know that they're out there and that you can handle them and you're going to figure it out and fix it. And, I have a hard time and I see how this happens to all of us. We're on social media and it looks like everybody's killing it. It's not true. And if you see somebody's $50,000 check on Facebook, that could actually end up being like, what, $1,000 that they really made?
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how long it took them to get there. So don't just look at the surface level. I mean, celebrate it because if you're trying to get to a $50,000 deal and you see somebody else doing it, don't get jealous. Be like, oh yeah, girl, if she can do that, I can too.
Right.
Whatever happened to her, I can survive too. And I say this, if somebody gives you a gift and it's not the full that you wanted, do you go, oh, no, thanks, I don't want that one? Or do you say, thanks, and now I'm ready for the next one? Because if you get a $5,000 fee, okay, thanks, now I'm ready for the next one. Yep. If you go, $5,000,
yeah, exactly.
Then I'm going to get to the next one.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned God earlier, so we'll go in with that. But, I mean, the reality is that I can't give you what you're not ready to receive. And you have to be, that $5,000 check or that $5,000 opportunity could be the reason, the option, the gateway drug to get to 50. And if you can't make it through 5, what makes you deserving of 50?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
And people say it a lot when you have money, like, oh, if you can't manage $10,000, how are you going to manage $1 million? And I used to be like, man, if I had $1 million, I'll figure it out. And the reality is you will figure it out. But really, really looking at it, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, if you're not able to manage, the basic lifestyle, How would you be able to manage the responsibility of having to give to charity, having to show up for people, having to do really uncomfortable things? Because at that point, it's not about you anymore. It's about everybody else.
And I want you to have big goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you, if you want to own 100 doors, great. But why don't we see how you do with one house first?
The
Let's
action.
into a triplex or a duplex and see how you manage and maintain that before we just dump 100 and you shrivel up and die.
It's hard. It's very hard. Like, I just took my property management in-house in June of last year. And I had property managers before that. And you know, once you get to a certain amount of doors, it just makes sense to go in-house to save money and to control construction costs, because that's like one of the biggest things that we have a problem with whenever you're outsourcing. And it's okay, you know, when you're doing 5, 10, 20, 30 doors, but once you get into hundreds, it can be very challenging. So I learned so many different obstacles in that phase. You know what I mean? Like just building a property management company has been a challenge. Like evictions, like I guess you don't know what you don't know. That's the reality. And as you roll out things, you'll find out quickly.
Yeah.
Do you want to manage? Do you not want to manage? Do you, figure it. You're going to have to figure it out.
You're going to have to figure it out, but it's also important to have a team and to have humans around that you can talk to and understand.
Humans.
Like speak the same language too, because one thing is I don't know anybody who says, when I retire, I want to get another job and work 80 hours a week and have a heart attack and die, because you can create that life for you. But most people want to have freedom and flexibility.
Yep.
And the only way for you to do that is to get a team and to get somebody else to help you do the management, get somebody else
it's
to
hard.
do the evictions. But you got to know how to process it before you can train somebody else.
It's definitely hard. That whole process has been hard, especially when if you're just starting, this will make sense in a little bit. But it's gonna be your baby, right? So you're gonna think this is your baby. Like, it's everything that I've ever worked for. It's the only thing that's ever been 100% mine that no one could take away from me. And so obviously I have control issues with that. And it's not something that I'm proud of. But as I kind of start delegating and, you know, I bring on more team members like that, it made it so much easier. I do have that balance and that harmony where things can mutually coexist. But initially I took ownership of everything because that is what made me successful. You know, like I had to do that, because if I didn't, you know, I couldn't hire a team at that point. So it's a transition, right?
So
like
I hear a lot of people talking about, well, you need to hire people as soon as you get started to answer your phones. You need to hire somebody to build a website. You need to hire somebody to be your acquisitions manager. You need to hire a team. You need to hire. When I started, I was in the ditches.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing everything. And that's why I only did 14, because it was all me. I was the bottleneck.
Yeah, but you were also 14 deals richer, and you didn't have to share none of your profits. And the second that you were ready to hire someone, you knew exactly what you needed them to do.
And
but
how long it should take.
Right. And also too, like process and implementation, like there's so many different things. So once you're ready, I think that you should go through a lot of deals by yourself first. Even if it's joint venturing, like bring in a joint venture partner. Don't create a company with them. Just joint venture on deals. You bring the buyer, they bring the seller, however, you know, it works. But don't be the bottleneck. But at some point, like that is what's going to get you into this business. Like you're going to have to take on things, and don't overwhelm yourself. You know, like just keep it simple. Marketing, buy, sell. That's it. Like you don't have to focus on a website. You don't have to focus on unless it's pre-made and you're paying $100 like from Carrot or Aria Black Book, whatever. But don't spend time on all the stuff that's not income generating, because you're not gonna do Google words right now. Like I blew so much money on Google. Like don't, you know, like just keep it stupid simple. Network, and door knock, you know, and leave sticky notes. Like make it so simple that, you know, if you told your little brother to do it, that he could do it. Like that's it.
I agree. And once you've got those systems and processes in place, then teaching somebody else how to do it, you will really learn. all the things that you just got to been muddling through, but you'll figure it out, and they will too. But I think that you got to do it yourself first. And that's what I really focus when I help women. I want you to do this. If and when you hire it out, fine.
That's fine. But you'll know if it's right or wrong.
And, most women, one deal a month is...
That'll change your life.
Yeah, exactly. You can do whatever you want to in a year if you do one deal a month.
The average person, like, gross, that they're making 40,000, like, think about that. So let's say you make $5,000 a month. Like, one, you could quit your job. So now you could really scale it to $10,000 a month. So I think that's the biggest thing is, like, we either look at someone who's done so much, right? And we're like, we can never get there. Like, that seems so far. But the reality is that look at your own finances. Like, you might only need $5,000 a month. That's one deal.
You don't have to drive a Lamborghini to be a successful real estate investor.
I definitely do not.
I don't either.
I drive an Altima.
I drive a Hyundai Santa Fe. Like, it's no big deal to me, but that's not my definition of success. And everybody has a different definition of success. And your mom's definition could be different than yours, could be different than your sister's, could be different than your husband's. Like, there's so many different versions and ways to be successful. You don't have to fit into somebody else's. If you just want to kick it and make an extra $5,000 on autopilot and that's your version, do it too, baby. It'll take you like a year.
Yeah. Or chill. I mean, most people just want to do one deal and, like, sit on a couch. Like, if that is your definition of success, I'm not judging you.
I'm not judging you. You do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
I pretty much quit investing because I wanted to coach. That's what I wanted to do. That was my version of success, was helping other women get their deals
see the
done.
possibility. Right.
Yeah. So that doesn't have to be yours, though.
Yeah.
But do your deals, run your race, and focus on what you can accomplish.
Right. Because I like doing this. I like doing podcast interviews. I like speaking from the stage, but I don't want to coach one-on-one. Like, that's not my level of success. Like, that's yours. My level of success, honestly, like, I don't know what that exactly looks like right now. It involves being in, like, complete harmony of, like, multiple things. And, like, really being able to serve, like, through my nonprofit. So my nonprofit, we basically service young Black men ages 12 to 24. And take, like, their street hustles into legal hustles, they're transitioning, soft skills, like, the whole thing, like, really into entrepreneurship, just making in these neighborhoods where no one has seen a successful entrepreneur or, doesn't have the ability to even make that leap or even know it's possible for them. So that's really my passion. But real estate affords me a lifestyle where I can live comfortably. I'm not relying on grants to fund my program. And we live a nice lifestyle. Like, I mean, I'm not balling out, but I get to go on a trip. If I want to book a trip tomorrow, I can. And so that is my level of, I just want to be within my purpose and show people that real estate doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can literally do everything that you want to do.
It doesn't have to be all encompassing either. You can have a life and you can have a nonprofit and you can give back. How did you decide? How'd you get into this nonprofit and decide to grow it?
So we created it, but I have a partner, and he's the executive director so he's also acquisitions in my business, and then we partnered on the nonprofit. So he has a master's in social work. It's a community that I've been investing in, and it's just kind of been perfect harmony. It's the neighborhoods that he's from. And I mean, that's really what it is, but it's just something that I'm super passionate of, just giving people resources like you are about giving women resources to know that real estate is possible for women, period. Because if we don't see, Hispanic women, we don't see Black women, we don't see white women, we don't see anybody doing it, we don't think that it's possible for us. So it's kind of changing that narrative of, like, real estate investors have to be male. Like, no, that's not the initiative. Like, I run crews, I run everything. Like, I don't, I have a great team and great support, but if I'm being honest, I mean, yeah, the workers are guys, but the people running it are girls.
That's cool.
Except for Chauncey. Yeah, except for Chauncey. He's the only one that gets to be on this side. But it's just like everything working together, that allows a lifestyle. I'll just say one last thing, but when I first started in real estate, my goal was like to make $10,000 a month. Like that's what, $120,000 a year. That was comfortable. It would replace my income and I would be chilling, right?
Yep.
And at that point, I was eating at Ruth Chris. I could go to fancy restaurants. I could drive a nice car, all that stuff. Like that was my frame of reference, $100,000 a year. And when I got to that point, I realized like I don't have kids, so I had to realize that my vision had to be bigger than just me and even just my family. So I went to like an underserved population, like, okay, who's so marginalized in this world, that not in this world, but in the United States, because I feel like doing work in your own backyard is really, especially if you're investing in an area and you're owning rentals, like you need to be invested in the community. But so that's kind of how that happened. Was I was like, okay, I'm going to be investing in these communities, but I also have to bring resources to these communities. Like we do a lot of community development stuff. And a lot of people talk about investing in the hood, and yeah, you can invest in the hood, but only if you're adding value to it. Don't invest in the hood to be a slumlord.
I also think if we're going to talk about investing in the hood, let's work on helping the people there too. It's not just that resources. I'm there and I'm investing. Let's help them invest. If they're going to live
seller
here,
finance.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I was thinking. Like help the people and you'll never go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like through seller financing, like that changes neighborhoods. Seller financing changes neighborhoods because you're not just a renter. That's your house. You own it.
Well, that's what we started with, is talking about skin in the game. When they become the owner and they're making the payment and they're seeing their family become the owners, like that's their skin in the game.
Yep.
And it changes their perspective and the way they see everything and the way they take care of everything, and everything just changes. That's awesome.
Yep. But that's how you change like the narrative in a community. That's how you have to create opportunities for people. I feel like, just like you, I feel like I'm chosen. Like I was chosen to be the person that shows people it's possible for them. But that's not something that I take lightly, which is why you have to show people like it's not like where you are right now is not where you're supposed to be for the rest of your life. Like it might be comfortable and it might be easy, but even that, it's kind of like being fat. Like being fat is not comfortable. Like you get to choose your hard. Like, are you going to work out? That's hard. Or being fat is hard. Like it's the same thing, but you have to know, you have to be exposed to new things. And I feel like it's our responsibility to show people like, and your family might not buy into it initially. Like, real estate investing, like people are like, oh yeah, you're going to make money. Yeah. Okay. And so that's the thing, is just like bridging the gap between people and just showing everyone that it's possible for them. And maybe you just want 5 rental properties. Maybe that's your vision. Like that's perfect. I'd rather you have one than have none.
Exactly.
So whatever your vision is.
Maybe you get into it and realize that you don't want 5 houses and you trade those into apartments so that you can hire a property manager. Or maybe you get into that and you say, you know what, I just want to loan money and make money. I don't really actually want to own it. And then you become like, there's thousands of ways to make money out here. And if I can figure it out, if you can figure it out, if Kristina can figure
Anybody
it out,
can.
Everybody can. Anybody can. But you got to want it. You got to be really willing to work for it. And I think it's important, to live your best life ever, you've got to have that greater vision like you were talking about. It's not just you, it's not just your family, it's the community. How are we going to make everything better?
Yep. And sometimes, a lot of times, people want to just do charity. Like they want to give $1,000 and, that's fine. But I feel like that doesn't necessarily change the narrative. Like giving people money, especially in an underserved community, it doesn't give them the resource. It's like the whole thing about you can lead a horse to water. Like, yeah, you can lead him to water, but if he doesn't know how to get there every single time, he's gonna drown. I mean, he's gonna be without water.
I was going to use the fish. You can either give a man a fish or you can teach him to fish. And I change it, and I can either give, because people used to come to me and they'd say, well, just give me your houses.
Right.
If it's so easy. No, I'm going to teach you how to get
your own houses
so that you can do this forever and ever. Amen. And, then you can go and do bigger deals, or you can stop and say, you know what? I tried it. It was cool, but I'm out.
Yeah. And I think that's like the biggest thing. I was talking to someone today who's an ex-NFL player. And basically what I told him was, I'm like, the reason why there's, you know, NFL players go bankrupt after, you know, the lifespan of NFL is 3 years. And the reality is, you know, you don't have the skill set to manage money
for their entire life to do one thing. Nobody ever trained their mind to do the other things. I agree. I get it. Yep.
Yeah. So I was just telling him, I was like, hey, like, I don't want people to be dependent on me. Right. So it's the same thing with, you know, charities and things that give money for different things. Like, you're making these people dependent on you because you're just giving them the money. You're not giving them the resources to be able to make that money themselves.
There's a great story. I want you to read the Miracle in the Mountains book. It's about Martha Berry, and she actually did a lot of work with Henry Ford, and he believed that. He didn't give any money, but he would give tools and resources. Or if he gave money, like he gave Martha some money and said, go see what you can do with this. And it was like a tiny amount, like a dime or $1 or $100, something that couldn't turn anything into anything. But a year later, she came back and she'd like done all this stuff and made all this stuff. And, you know, and so he thought, well, if she could do that with a little, what could she do with a lot? And we talked about God. God's the same way.
Yeah.
He gives you one little deal. Let's see what you can do with a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I feel like it kind of went everywhere. Like, wholesaling is like, I feel like it's like the skate, you know, it's the way to get in without risking too many things. You know, you're building a brand, and that's the way things kind of evolve, is that if your heart is in the right place and you want, you know, you really want to help people. Like, I do everything soul centered, right? So I'm like super big on like leading with my heart, and sometimes it doesn't make business sense, right? But that's okay, because that's what makes me feel good.
It always turns out the right way. Kristina, you've been awesome. How can people get in touch with you if they have more questions about investing in St. Louis or wholesaling or anything like that? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram right now, just Kristina Spells, pretty simple. And then I will be sharing more content because my friends are on me. So I will be sharing more content just to help you analyze rental properties, like on a small, you know, I think that's one of the biggest things is people don't know how to analyze expenses and cash flow. And that's really my passion, letting wholesalers and investors know what their real cash flow is. So I'm super excited. But yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me, and I will definitely respond.
I love that.
Thank you so much.
Again, so much. This has been awesome.
Appreciate
Y'all don't
it.
forget to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Y'all check us out. She Buys It on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and anywhere you can type it in. Kristina will be back, I know, so that we can dig into more deals and details and maybe stay on track next time. But it's all good. Thank you so much, and we'll see y'all next week.
Awesome.